I've always found that silence is the best companion. Not people. Not noise. Not the "let's get out this weekend" promises. It's silence. The kind where you can hear your own breathing and it's not alarming. The kind where the refrigerator makes a noise like the ocean and the drips from the faucet are like a metronome that you fall asleep to. Maybe it's because I'm an only child. Maybe it's because as a kid, when my parents would fight, I would hide in the closet and listen to silence. Not music. Not stories. Just silence. I'm 32. I work as a UX designer. Freelance. Perfect mode, no one yanks, orders are coming in, you don't have to answer the phone. My personal religion is the absence of plans. When I heard about the apartment from a buddy, it was like I felt it, this is it. Do you want to live in a quiet neighborhood for a couple months? He asked me. It's an old apartment, but it's cozy. Why not? Just stay out of the closet. There's junk in there. The landlady can't stand it, but she doesn't want to throw it away. I laughed. I try not to touch the dust either. The apartment was in a 3-story building. Brick. Slightly peeling facade. Decayed lawn. Inside, it smelled of varnish and old wood and something memorable. Like my grandmother's apartment. The landlady was a sweet woman in her 50s with a thick French accent. She said the apartment was rarely rented out, people don't stay long. I thought maybe it was the heating or the humidity. But she just smiled. She said, "The main thing is to stay out of other people's stuff. Every closet has its own memory." I grinned. I'm not superstitious. I'm rational. Well, most of the time. The first night I slept like the dead. The second was worse, the wind hummed in the vents, the curtains rattled, and somewhere around midnight I was sure I could hear footsteps in the stairwell. On the third day, while looking for a spare blanket, I opened that very closet. It was massive, mahogany, with a heavy mirror. I ran my hand along the shelf, and my fingers stumbled over the edge. A black cover. Untitled. A notebook. Or a diary. Leather or leatherette, whatever. The edges are frayed. The elastic band was torn, holding it together. I picked it up and immediately felt a strange coldness. As if the object not abandoned. It was left behind. I sat down on the bed. Open to the first page. If you're reading this, you can probably hear their footsteps too. Something inside clenched. Not from fear. From recognition. You couldn't hear the footsteps, but you already knew what they sounded like. Next entry. For the first week, nothing happened. Just a strange whistling noise coming from the wall socket at night. I thought it was machinery. Then I thought I was going crazy. But on the 5th night, I woke up at 3:44 to the mirror shaking. It was like someone was standing on the other side. I glanced at the closet mirror machinefully. There I was. But I didn't like the way I looked at myself. The next entries were shorter. Cluttered. Keys disappeared. Found them in the kettle. Neighbor behind the glass doesn't blink. Same dream every night. A shadow. The bed. My voice, "It's not your turn yet." They weren't artistic. They were almost documentary. Like someone was trying to memorize everything before they lost control. I slammed the notebook shut. That night I slept with the hallway light on. In the morning, I woke up to the fact that the journal was by my pillow. I'd definitely left it on the nightstand. That's right. Open to the next page. You can't hear the whispers yet. That's odd. It usually comes first. In the vent. In the kettle. In dreams. I slowly closed the cover. Gathered myself in the kitchen. There was a cup on the table. Dry. But I didn't put it there. I'm not paranoid. But from that day on, I started unplugging the kettle at night. I went for a walk to unwind. I met a neighbor in the yard. Old man. Knitted hat, stick, kind eyes. "Are you new?" he asked me. "Yes. For a couple months." He nodded, thoughtful. "There was a boy who lived here before you." Lonely. He kept writing. Then he just, moved out. Didn't even call the landlady. What was he writing? I wouldn't know. All I know is that when a man whispers to himself, it's not good. I thanked him and left. But for the rest of the day I couldn't get whispering to himself out of my head. When I returned, I opened my diary. The entries had gotten denser. They don't come until you write about them. But once you start they read with you. And lower still. I burned the first half. But the ashes are still moving. For the first time, I began to wonder, what exactly was going on in that apartment? Was it psychosis? Or was it something worse? And why was I still reading? I finished reading close to midnight. Last entry at that point. I don't know who you are, but if you see this, I'm sorry. I failed. But maybe you can. I went to bed with that in my head. I listened to the water pounding in the pipes for a long time. And something creaking in the closet that shouldn't be there. I woke up the next morning feeling as if someone had whispered something to me during the night. I couldn't remember the words, or the voice, or even the gist of it, but the feeling of someone standing at my bedside and speaking directly into my ear wouldn't go away. Not threatening. Not calling. Just, explaining something. And that was more frightening than the threats. I poured coffee. I sat on the balcony. I took my diary. Now I read it in the morning like a newspaper. Only it wasn't a newspaper about the world, but about my own home. And the events in it were happening, with frightening accuracy. I noticed that the neighbor across the hall was no longer blinking. I'd been waiting for 14 minutes. He'd been staring straight out my window the whole time. When I got up, he smiled. And walked away. I looked across the street. Regular blinds. Regular windows. No one. But I pulled the curtain down anyway. I tried to convince myself that it was just someone's disturbing delusion. A former tenant. Unstable to say the least. Possibly paranoid. Perhaps even diagnosed. Such people often begin to hear footsteps, feel a presence, see faces, even in the dust on the floor. But then, why did everything seem to match up for me? Why, when I turned on the kettle, did I feel as if an intonation slipped into its gurgling? In the night, I woke up to the sound of falling. As if something had fallen in the cupboard. I got up, turned on the light. Stepped to the door. Opened it. There was nothing there. But the diary, lying on the floor of the closet, in the very corner, as if someone had been going through things and dropped it by accident. Again, the feeling. No proof. Just a feeling. But the feeling was very clear. Someone was here. The next diary entries became haphazard. He followed me again today. I turned the corner, he turned the corner too. I walked into the drugstore. He stopped at the entrance and just stared. He doesn't buy anything. He just shows up. There was something moving in the closet at night. I thought it was mice. Then I realized no. Mice don't have legs that look like hands. They know what I write. Each letter is like the flick of a flashlight. I am like a beacon. And they are like darkness just waiting for the light. I began to realize why the previous tenant had left without calling. A day later, I went to the store, and as I was coming back, I thought someone was following me. I looked around and it looked like no one was there. But then, on the landing, I heard footsteps behind me again. And they stopped when I stopped. I turned around sharply. It was empty. There was a gray footprint on the mat. Too fresh. I was wearing clean sneakers. I couldn't leave it. That evening, I went to my neighbor's house. The same one who talked about the boy who lived before me. I knocked for a long time. He didn't answer right away. "Oh, you're the neighbor," he said. "Yes. May I ask you a question?" He nodded. Not a bit of surprise in his eyes. As if he knew why I'd come. "This diary," I began. "It was in the closet. Did the guy leave it?" "I think so. He wrote a lot." "What happened to it?" The old man shrugged. "I don't know. Just disappeared. He left at night without saying goodbye." He threw the keys under the mat. The landlady cleaned it up afterward, but he stopped talking. But she didn't throw away the notebook. Why not? She said anyone who found it would decide whether to keep it or not. And you? I never looked. That's right. Why? He looked at me, smiled a little, but his face didn't look like someone who was joking. Because you already look like them. Like who? He pointed to my forehead. The ones who read too long. See, you don't have surprise anymore. Just anticipation. Like you know what's coming, but you're still flipping through it. I thanked him and left. On the way back, I bought coffee. I went into the apartment. Sat down at the table. I took out my diary. On the page was a new one. You've already started to see what he saw. It's not the refrigerator you hear at night. You think you're alone. You still think. And at the bottom is the caption. By day, they just watch. At night, they try the door. I checked the front door. The lock was locked. But the knob, a little colder than usual. Like it had just been touched. I tried to distract myself. Movies. Music. Work. I tried to ground myself. I thought, am I really going to believe that a diary could be contagious? But it wasn't about mysticism. It was the feeling. Like you were burrowing deeper and deeper into someone else's memory, and they were rewriting you. I tried to hide the journal. Wrapped it in a t-shirt. I put it in my desk drawer. I taped it up. I went to sleep. I woke up in the middle of the night. The diary was on the pillow. Again. In the morning, a new entry. Not in the diary's handwriting. It was my own. I checked the closet. There's a different sound in there now. It's like someone's inside and writing too. I didn't write that. But it was my handwriting. And that's when I realized. Either I was going crazy. Or the diary was an extension of me. October 14th entry. I went out on the balcony at 9:17 p.m. In the dark, same figure on the corner. Doesn't move. Just staring. When I blinked, it was gone. When I went back inside, it was closer outside the window. I stared at those lines, pouring my morning coffee over them. I thought it was bullshit. Another release of fear on paper. The figure, the blinking, the appearance, the standard nighttime alarm set. But the time in the corner of the page wouldn't let go. 21:17. All day I walked around with that hour in my head. It was like I had an appointment, only not with a person, but with someone's memory. I even set a reminder on my phone. Balcony. Check. 21:17. Even made myself look like an idiot. As the hands neared the time, I went out anyway. I kept the lights on in the room just in case. Sat on a chair with a glass of wine. Stared ahead. Silence. 21:16. No mystique. Ordinary houses. Rare cars. A neighbor's cat rustling somewhere in the bushes. 21:17. I looked to my left. And I saw it. A figure. On the corner of the house. Right across the street. Standing. Doesn't move. Not exactly a shadow. More like a cutout, a man, black against the night. I froze. My breath rose somewhere between my throat and my chest. I couldn't make out a face. But I knew he was looking right at me. I took a half step back. The figure didn't move. I stepped into the apartment. Slowly. And then. The silence suddenly became unnaturally complete. As if I'd closed the door to the carriage and the train was moving. But everything was there. The doors. The locks. The lights. I picked up the journal with shaky hands. I went back to the entry. I noticed something. Underneath the line about figure, there was a note. Almost imperceptible. If you're reading this, it means you've seen it too. And now he sees you. That night I slept with the lights on. And with a knife under my pillow. The next day I went to the landlady's apartment. She opened the door with a sweet smile and a cup of chamomile tea in her hand. She looked like the perfect auntie from a book. "I have a question," I said. "Who lived before me?" "Before you?" A couple, I think. Or a guy. I'm not sure. You know, I have a lot of flow. I knew right away she was lying. "You left a diary in the closet." She blinked. "What diary?" "The entries. Very personal. Very disturbing. With descriptions of things. Things that are happening to me now." The smile is gone. "Is it still there?" "I thought I burned it." "What?" She clasped her hands to her chest. "I'm sorry. It's just, no one could stand him. Everyone who moved in started acting weird after a couple weeks. Then they'd move out. One disappeared altogether." "You thought it was the diary?" "I don't know. But he was, It was like he was absorbing something. Everyone would leave notes. And then they started repeating themselves. Words. Hours. Thoughts. And you're still renting this apartment?" She looked at me with a quiet weariness. "I can't sell it. And I can't live in it. Because? Because sometimes I see the light in the window. When it's empty. And sometimes I think someone's writing there again." I walked away from her. Silently. No desire to continue the conversation. I went home. Picked up the diary. I opened it. On the next page was an entry dated today. In my handwriting. "Mistress knows. But she can't leave. I'm part of it now, too. Because I wrote it too. I didn't write it. I swear. I didn't. I didn't go to bed that night. I sat in the kitchen. Looking at the diary. And for a moment, it occurred to me. What if I burn it?" I took a bowl. I put the diary in it. I took the lighter. My hand was shaking. I put the fire to it. The flame touched the paper. And then, the whole apartment went out. A click. Like someone pulled the cord. Darkness. And the paper cracked. I jumped back. The diary went up in flames, but it didn't burn. When the light came back on a second later, it was still there, perfectly intact. And with a new entry. "You don't choose when to finish. You're in the middle." The next day, I called a friend. Asked him to stay the night. He said okay, but when I got there, he was suddenly weird. "Are you okay?" he asked. "Your eyes look different." "Like what?" He didn't answer. He just poured a whiskey. That night I lay on his couch. I opened the bag. The diary was inside. I didn't remember putting it there. But it was there. I opened it. There was a photo on the page. A screenshot from a camera. My face. On the balcony. 2117. And behind me, a figure. She was standing behind me. The morning after the night at my friend's house started with a shiver in my fingers. I woke up early, as if someone had poked me in the shoulder, but there was no one in the room. There was a bag lying on the floor. The diary was lying on top of it, as if it had climbed out on its own. I wanted to throw it away. Really. Just walk to the dumpster and toss it. But instead, opened it. Maybe to make sure it was all a dream. That there was nothing new. But between the pages was a photograph. It was old, a little faded. It showed a man in the same apartment where I lived. Same couch. Same curtains. Same nightstand. He's holding the same diary. Behind him is a window. And there's the neighbor. The same old man. George. I've talked to a couple times. He's smiling. He's looking right at the camera. I was shaking. I sat up. I inhaled. Checked the photo on the back. The caption. 10 months ago. He didn't know I was around yet. I didn't wait for the evening. I went down to the old man's house. Knocked. He opened almost immediately. In his robe. A newspaper in his hand. Smiled. "Good morning, Oliver. You're early today. We didn't have an appointment. But you came anyway." He went into the back of the apartment without closing the door. As if inviting me in. I went in. He smelled of medicine and dust. Owl figures on the shelf. Stacks of magazines. An old TV with a warm screen. He put the kettle on. "You found the photo, didn't you? Is that you in the background?" He nodded. "And the guy in the front?" "One of the previous ones. Nick, I think. Or Noah. Whatever. He was reading, too." "Read the diary?" "Of course he did. Everyone does. Did you read it?" "I didn't write in it." "You already did." He winked. I sat down. My hands were shaking. He poured tea. Put it in front of me. "Listen. I'll tell you right away, I'm not a mystic. I'm not a sorcerer. Not a ghost. Just someone who's been around too long." "How many of you have there been?" "5. You're the 6th so far." "And what happened to the others?" He shrugged. "One left. One disappeared. One, you saw him in the diary. But one stayed. I mean, stayed in the house. Sometimes the light in the pantry comes on by itself. I think that's her." "Why didn't you tell the landlady?" He snorted. "She knows. She used to be 6th. Even before you. But she ran away. Then came back as owner. Tried to burn the journal. Didn't work." He looked at me with pity. "We all thought it was just paper. Just words. But a diary is like a hole. It lets you in. And it doesn't always close." I opened the photo again. "Who took that photo?" "I didn't." He shook his head. "But I found it. In the mailbox. With a note." I tensed. "Which one?" He went into the bedroom. Came back with a small piece of paper. Yellowed. I took it. Same handwriting as the diary. "If you found this, don't hide. He'll be coming to you soon. Better be ready." I got home almost on autopilot. The door opened hard, as if the air in the apartment had gotten denser. The diary lay on the table. On a new page, a fresh entry. "You've been to his place. You know. Now look closely." I stood at the window. Looked at the house across the street. At the corners. At the rooftops. No one. I was about to move away when I noticed movement. Around the corner. Quickly. A jerk. As if someone had looked in and out. I grabbed my camera. I turned it on. I left it on the windowsill. I sat down. I waited. An hour later, nothing. 2 hours later, nothing. 3rd hour, I dozed off. I woke up to a knock. Someone was banging on the window. I got up. The camera was still working. I looked out the window. No one was there. I opened the camera. Rewound it. At 2:47, the frame jerked. At 2:48, a figure. At 2:49, a face. Right in the camera. A centimeter away from the glass. I recoiled. Blinked. Stopped the tape. Rewound it again. Nothing. The frames merged. The face was gone. But I saw it. I swear I saw it. The next morning, I went to the old man's apartment again. But his apartment was empty. The door was ajar. Inside, everything was in perfect order. On the table, a cup of iced tea. And an envelope. I opened it. Inside is a photo. On the balcony. Last night. And the caption. "Now you see. I haven't slept in 3 days. I've been in the kitchen the whole time. The camera's on. Curtains closed. Phone in airplane mode. 3 locks on the door. A towel under the door to keep the light out. There was a diary on the table. Open. A blank page. It was like it was calling to me. I tried to throw it away again. I took it to the trash can, threw it in, and walked away. 10 minutes later, I come home and it's on the table. As if I'd just put it there myself. In the morning, the mailman brought a letter. No stamp. No address. Just a name. Oliver. I didn't say it to anyone. Not at the rental, not the neighbors, not even George. I introduced myself as O. Inside the letter is another picture. Sleeping. On my side. By the window. On the table, a diary. On the wall behind me, a shadow. Someone's. And a signature. You write. We read. That same night, I wrote on the last page. I don't know what spurred me on. Maybe fatigue. Maybe despair. I just picked up a pen and wrote. I don't know if he was crazy. But now I know what it means to be afraid to breathe at night. And that was it. Closed the journal. Went to bed. Woke up at 3:46 to silence. No noise. No creaking. Just absolute silence. I got up. No lights on. The whole house was in darkness. I found a flashlight. I went into the kitchen. The diary was on the floor. Opened. On a new page. But it wasn't my handwriting. It said. Thank you. You're part of it now. In the morning, I wanted to leave. I packed. Threw everything in my suitcase. I opened the door and there was a diary in the doorway. Dry. Clean. New. As if yesterday had never happened. I called the landlady. Hello. It's Oliver. From the apartment. Are you still there? Yes. I was wondering. I thought you'd left. It's usually the second week. Did you know about the diary? Pause. Yes. But it's best not to read it. Why didn't you put it away? Because I'm not the one who put it away. Beeps. I went outside. I went to the station. I decided to take the train. Anywhere. There's another photo on the wall by the exit. By the balcony. With a diary in the background. And the caption. Now you're looking. I ran away. I took a bus. To the train station. Bought a ticket to the nearest town. Stayed in a motel. I slept on and off. Looked under the door. In the morning, nothing. No letters. No diary. Almost, calm. Almost. Until the evening. When I got back to the room, the same diary was on the bed. Open. A blank page. I knew what to do. I took a pen. I wrote. I don't want to be a part of it. I don't want to hear. I don't want to look. Closed it. Walked out. Put the journal in the trash can. Burned it. Watched the pages burn. The cover turning black. The text disappearing. I woke up the next morning. The room was quiet. Sunny. I grinned. That's it. The end. I went to breakfast. There's a newspaper on the lobby table. I flipped through the pages. On the last page, there's a clipping. Man found dead in rented apartment. In his hands, a diary. The last entry. You read. Now it's your turn to write. I froze. Looked at the date. Last month. The name isn't mine. But, the photo is mine. I went back to the room. There's a new diary on the nightstand. Clean. No creases. Open. Signed. Now your story begins. I heard footsteps again. Slow. Outside the door. And then the rustle of a pen. As if someone was writing. You're reading someone else's story. But what if you were the stranger?